Immigration's taken on renewed significance during that time. As we saw from the 2021 census in particular, Canada's population is aging. Immigration is now driving most of our population growth and labour force stability. L'an dernier, le Canada accueillit le plus grand nombre de résidents permanents de son
the most permanent resident of its history, and it's part because we needed some newcomers, and they need us.
Our worker, and this is an important statistic, our worker to retiree ratio has dropped from 7 to 1 since I was born 50 years ago to nearly 3 to 1 now. If we don't welcome more newcomers, that number will approach 2 to 1 in the decades ahead, and that'll put our infrastructure and key programs like our healthcare and our education at risk. I'm pleased to share that Canada intends to maintain its target of welcoming 485,000 new permanent residents in 2024 and 500,000 in 2025. Starting in 2026, the number of newcomers we aim to welcome will stabilize at 500,000, allowing for a sustainable population growth. These immigration levels allow us to bring in the skills and talent we need to fill the labour gaps and ensure Canada's economic prosperities, help families reunite, and remain a leader in refugee resettlement. They're keeping us with our long-term focus on economic growth, with roughly 60% of the permanent resident admissions dedicated to the crucial economic class. We're also committed to expanding efforts with key federal departments to align governmental priorities in our planning efforts in order to account for our capacity to accept, including immigration that is having pressure on housing. This approach will lay the foundation for a more integrated planning and coordination as a country. While today's announcement is about permanent resident levels, a whole-of-government approach also means taking a close look at temporary resident immigration and making sure they align with our capacity to ensure sustainable growth. This is something we'll be looking at more intensely going forward. We've consulted widely on both the number of permanent residents in Canada and the number that we should welcome, and the balance between the categories of the newcomers. We look at perspectives and priorities of federal partners, regional representatives, Indigenous community stakeholders, as well as the general public. These immigration levels will help set the pace of Canada's economic and population growth while moderating its impact on critical systems such as infrastructure and housing. Ils maximiseront les avantages économiques et sociaux de l'immigration,
social advantages and economical advantages of immigration, and into the francophone communities outside in Quebec. We will establish an objective of 6% of francophones outside Quebec, even if we have to raise it for 7% in 2025, and after that at 8% in 2026. So it'll represent, when we talk of the 4% historic rate that we achieved, it's going to be the double in a few years. Earlier this year, my ministry did a strategic analysis of immigration with partnership and other stakeholders of immigration programs in Canada for the future of our country. One of the principal conclusions of this exam is to decide to have a growth plan coordinate for the ensemble of Canada.
We will conduct skills missions abroad, importantly coordinated by a chief international talent officer, to find the workers we need. We'll work to align our immigration programs and services more closely to the current and future needs of our economy. I would stress that in following the announcement of yesterday on our strategic immigration review, what Canadians have been telling us is to plan a little better for the future of the country. We know these challenges and that these levels are essential because of the broad economic brushstrokes that I portrayed in the last few minutes. But what Canadians are telling us, what economists are telling us, is we have to dive into the microeconomic impacts of immigration. That means making sure our programs are properly tailored to what industry, what labor is asking us to do. And right now, I can't pretend that they are. Over the last year, we've made some changes. We've made some changes in the way we deliver our services. We've made changes in the natures of the public policies that we deliver to Canadians. Canadians are telling us to get better organized, and do it with provinces and territories. That means, as I mentioned, it means we align more closely with our immigration with labor needs. Canada continues to suffer a significant shortage, for example, of construction workers. In 2022, the industry reported needing 95,000 more workers across the country as people age out of the industry. We believe newcomers are part of the solution for increasing housing supply in particular. Through our express entry program that we announced 3 months ago, for example, we're targeting candidates who can help fill labor shortages in the industry and actually build the homes that we've made ambitious plans for. L'une de nos grandes priorités est de stimuler l'immigration économique, évidemment.
Priorities
Nous savons que
is
les entreprises
economical.
à l'échelle du
We
Canada
have some
ont du
enterprises
mal à
across
trouver
Canada
suffisamment de
that
travailleurs
have
pour occuper
trouble
d'importants
finding
postes
workers
vacants.
to
Nous voyons également que les
fill
entreprises
some very
peuvent
important
prospérer
jobs.
lorsqu'elles embauchent de
And
nouveaux
we
arrivants
want
qui
them,
possèdent des
when they
compétences et des talents
hire
recherchés
new
partout au Canada et
arrivals
même partout dans le monde.
everywhere in Canada and everywhere in the world.
RCC's Immigration Levels Plan is tailored to support businesses in achieving their goals now and in the future. For example, thanks to the recent express entry changes, we've been able to invite more than 1,500 trades from abroad, including those who can help build new homes. RCC also launched earlier this year the Tech Talent Strategy that included a stream for H-1B holders in the U.S. We're also acutely aware that many construction workers who immigrated, for example, to the Greater Toronto Area on temporary work permits, later fell out of status and became vulnerable to exploitation, wage depression, and abuse. We've been bridging a number of these workers to permanent residency to support their future and ours. It's critical. This past week, I announced new measures to strengthen the temporary residency program for international students to support universities and colleges while protecting international students from bad actors and ensuring they set up for their success in their journey in Canada. We're also working to align our programs to attract students who can potentially transition to working, filling job vacancies in Canada after graduation, after consultation with those institutions and industry. Tout comme les programmes d'immigration
As the
économique,
immigration
Canada continue à
programs of
assurer la
economy
prospérité de notre pays.
keeps prosperity of
Programmes
our
humanitaires
countries.
nous permettent de
Humanitarian
respecter des valeurs
programs
en défendant
permit
les
us
droits et
to
la dignité
defend
des personnes les plus
dignity
vulnérables
and
dans le
values of the most vulnerable person in the world.
Past month, in the last couple of days, I announced the arrival and the resettling of 40,000 Afghans fleeing persecution and oppression 2 months ahead of schedule. Canada is also now a safe harbor for more than 200,000 Ukrainians and their families members fleeing war from Russia, a nuclear aggressor. Canada also committed this year to providing humanitarian economic pathways with our key ally, the United States, for 15,000 people from the Americas, supporting them and starting a new life here and promoting safe and regular migration. This builds on the work that we're doing through the Economic Mobility Pathways pilot, which helps skilled refugees immigrate to Canada through existing economic programs and connecting them with employers and qualified candidates. Tapping into these new talent pools not only benefits those seeking Canada's help, but also assists businesses across our country in reducing labor shortages and the skill gaps. In this moment of global crisis and deep uncertainty, Canada will continue to become a leader in refugee resettlement. En s'inspirant des leçons tirées de nos réponses
of the lessons found for the recent humanitarian crisis at the international level, the interventions in kind of crisis to be more positioned and having a soft and agile answer. We will also balance that we'll have an evaluation when to have a quick intervention as far as immigration in other countries that did need the protection.
We will continue to engage with Canadians and improving our immigration system so that it remains fast, fair, effective, while supporting the country's priorities in the years ahead.